Hello everyone and welcome back to this edition of MBC News. I'm Amelia Guerin and this month we have a special surprise for you. As a crew, we always try and cover the fun and important things going on in and around Mason. Well, this month we reached out a little bit further than that. There are many important women living in the Cincinnati area that have paved the way for future generations. In honor of Women's History Month, Kylie Gigliotti got to sit down with 6 of these women, ranging from a head collegiate basketball coach to a former fighter pilot, to discuss the experiences they've had as women in their lines of work.
Our team here at NBC takes great pride in being a resource for news and information here at Mason High School. Today we are using our platform to shine the light on amazing women who are achieving at the highest level of their profession. We had the opportunity to sit down with 6 of these women. Sri Palello is an Emmy Award-winning news anchor for WLWT5 here in Cincinnati. She's known for interviewing people who are making history when really she's the one making history, as one of Cincinnati's most reliable and respectable journalists. She says that women bring empathy and emotion to the newsroom, a trait that's valuable when connecting to an audience.
You know, I joke a lot of times my husband is my co-anchor and he'll say, "You women are so emotional, that's why you can't do the same job." And I'll say, yeah, but that emotion is what makes us great at our job because we care so much, right? Sometimes I feel like my husband, who has the same job, can be detached from it. And I will be connected to the person who I interview, and I will say, no, we need to fight harder for them. Listen, I was told by so many people that I would never do this, including a professor of mine, including a coach of mine that said, oh, so-and-so tried to do that and she was so pretty and she didn't do it. You know, you should try something else. And look, here I am today. There's no ceiling anymore. When I was young, you know, as a woman, you thought, okay, well, maybe I could be a reporter, or maybe I could be one of the news anchors, but I didn't ever think that maybe I could be the news director or the general manager of my station, right? Now, young girls like you, the sky's the limit. Not only could you be the vice president, we've had women running for president and have really done well in the races. I think what's so important is no longer do you see this limitation. No longer like when I was a young girl where you had this fear of being the one in charge. Instead, it's empowering. You think, sure, I can do it because she's done it and she's done it. It's crazy what we do to women. We say we support each other, but then we break each other down on social media. Let me give you an example. January 6th, we had the Capitol riots. As a reporter, I would say that was the second scariest day to 9/11 to me, right? I can take criticism in my job because if I get it from both ends, I know I'm doing my job and I'm telling both sides of a story. But when I got off the air that night, I had a nasty email from a woman saying, "Why don't you wear pantyhose? I can't stand your legs." And I thought, here we are, and from another woman, here we are, 2021, on one of the toughest days we've had as a country in decades, and you're worried about me wearing stockings and pantyhose? That's what's wrong with women. We sometimes break each other down when we should be building them up. No matter what you come from, no matter how much money you have, no matter how successful your parents are, you can be anything you want to be, and I feel like I'm proof of that. You know, I did not come from much. I paid my way through school. I went to NKU, not because it's the university I wanted to go to, although it was great, but it's all I could afford at the time. And here I am. I've sat next to people who've gone to Harvard and Yale and Northwestern, and I always got promoted over them because I worked harder, right? So it's not how smart you are, it's how hard you work and how determined you are to fight for it. I just think you need to go into any job with equal footing. Take each other seriously. I have worked with some amazing men, right? I have worked with some guys, including my co-anchor and husband now, who he makes me better every single day. But I've also worked for some pretty strong women who are tougher than the men I've worked with, right? So I think it's just take us seriously, treat us as equals, and I think we'll work really well together.
Michelle Clark-Hurd is the head women's basketball coach at the University of Cincinnati. She's an accomplished coach known for challenging her players on the court, while also building and creating strong leaders off the court. She is also outspoken for creating a level playing field for women in sports.
When you've been in sports for a while and you've been on the women's side, you understand and know that there's a lot of work that's yet to still be done. But there's a lot of people that have put in a lot of work too for us to get to where we're at right now. Across the country, every single day, there's a lot of female coaches, a lot of female athletes that are fighting for the equality every single day. And I saw a tweet on social media that said, okay, for those of you all that reached out about the weight room and what it looked like, how many of you are watching women's basketball today? And that hit me, and it was very powerful because that's what we need more of, more support in watching this game and understanding that these young ladies give so much, just as much as their counterparts on the male side, on the men's side. Now, I think that anytime that there's an opportunity to showcase females in any situation that could empower, I think it's great. But I just think that being in a situation that you can have the opportunity to showcase females in different lights of how that looks and whatever that is, I think that it could be a great situation, just understanding and knowing what that looked like for every individual, how the society in the world has been, how we had to fight all the different people that paved the way for us in sports, Title IX. It's a lot of different things in the world that not only us, it's different stages in life, and the people that came before us, I think we owe it to them to be able to make sure we're passing that on for our daughters. Everyone else can see that these things are possible, and that it shouldn't matter if you're a male or a female or your race or your gender. Like it's all about everyone being empowered and equal to a part where you can be the best that you can be, no matter what that looks like.
Amy Brewer has been the mayor of Lebanon, Ohio for 20 years. She served on city council for 32 years. Before running, there was only one woman in the history of Lebanon who had ever held a council position. Amy was the second. And now 32 years later, she still believes men and women can serve in local government and create a significant impact on their community.
People would say, back then, you should be home raising your children. You should not be in public office. Or, if a woman is elected, there'll be a beauty parlor on every corner. So I thought to myself, wow, that's not what you want to hear, because a woman's role can be very valuable and very important. And so I said, oh, you think that's going to happen? Just watch. And I ran for office 32 years ago. Not sure if I was going to win or not, and I have been elected 8 times and just feel honored to serve my community. Here's what my parents said to me growing up and said to all my siblings: you can be whatever you want to be. Do what you love, do what you're passionate about. And you may not know what that is right away. You'll figure it out. But success is who you are, be a kind person, be a good person. That makes you successful. My greatest accomplishment was this, that I was a wonderful role model for girls. I have 3 daughters and 1 son. I was a role model for my beautiful daughters. I taught, and so you think about all the role models for all the young girls that I taught in my career, that young women can do whatever they want to do. They can be successful, whether that be a mayor, whether that be a doctor, whether that be a diesel mechanic. Girls can do anything that they want to be. So I think in some ways that's part of a great accomplishment for me. One of the things I would say to young ladies right now is, when I say think out of the box, in this day and time, there's a lot of self-centeredness, and I think that it's important that you young women step out of their traditional roles. And some young girls will say, I'm not sure what I want to do with my life. That's okay to not know what you want to do, but expand your horizons. And remember, if you love it, if you have a passion for it, nothing should stop you from doing that. Nothing, not in this day and age. I myself feel as though I deserve to be respected. And that is my presence. And that's what I expect, and so my demeanor and how I act, and in the same way that I respect men. So I think I have developed, and young women need to develop that sense of self-confidence that they should be treated with respect, with dignity, with that ethical standard, the same with men.
She's flown over 200 combat missions over Iraq and Afghanistan. She's an Air Force Academy graduate. She's a communications specialist at GE Aviation, a politician, a wife, and a mother. She's Nikki Foster, and she's no stranger to being the only woman in her field. But that hasn't stopped her from making sure that women still have a voice at the table.
Sometimes if a barrier hits, you actually don't know it's a barrier until you look backwards. So in Air Force pilot training, I was the only woman in my pilot training class. And I'd come to work every day and I'd do my job. And I was really struggling in pilot training to catch on to the mechanics of the airplane, to feel that same level of confidence I had as a student athlete. And then when I reflected, I realized that I don't think a lot of the men wanted me there. And the way that I realized that was they kind of had a separate standard for me than they had for all my male counterparts. But at the time, I just thought, I will work my tail off merit-wise and just get through this, and merit will see me through. And it actually worked out that way for me. But in hindsight, I realized, wow, I tripped over a bunch of stumbling blocks because the barriers were there from my male counterparts and my male instructor pilots. There were no female instructor pilots in that unit. Stepping up to run for public office is a very, personal decision. But I will say that, let's go backwards a couple years to the fall of 2016. We had seen women run for office, but not really in like a holistic way. It was happening in small doses around the country. And back in 2017, and I'd already been off of active duty, I thought, President Obama said when he left office, if you don't like what you see from your elected officials, step up, grab a clipboard and run yourself, or help someone else run. And so that's what I did. I'm raising 2 boys, and my husband and I met in Air Force pilot training. And it's about setting that example and that advocacy for respect in the workplace, regardless of what your gender is. And I don't think that just because you lift women up doesn't mean that you're putting men down. And I think that's something that we really need to clarify, that they can both happen. And I will tell you, after serving in the military, 80-90% of the people I worked with were men. They were my brothers. And I always saw them that way, and they saw me with respect. I saw them with respect. So if I give you respect as a man, then I expect you to give me respect as a woman. And so there's that give and take. And that's what I expect of men in the workplace, but also women that are working with men or supervising men, is we need to see each other as equals and have that respect. And when you do that, the workplace is a better place to be. Your school is a better place to be. And we need those advocates. Flying airplanes was something I kind of stumbled on. If there's an open door or window, take it and run towards it, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So do the best you can academically, so then the doors just keep opening. Do the best you can athletically, any extracurriculars, because those doors just keep opening.
Megan Glowacki is a law partner at the prestigious firm Thompson & Hine. Now a successful labor law attorney, Glowacki didn't know that she wanted to practice law in high school. In a field so predominantly male, Glowacki struggles with how men viewed her as she entered the courtroom.
I remember every time I walked into a deposition and the male opposing counsel thought I was a court reporter. Those types of things just stick with you as, being the people who thought you couldn't be where you are, where you thought you could be. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to remember that you worked hard for where you are. And regardless of what their expectations are for what the person across from them should look like, you earned your spot there. And that's the most important part. I think about our female vice president and how it's more difficult to think you can achieve something when you haven't seen someone there doing it themselves. So if you have an interest in the law, you should go to courtrooms and see the number of women who are there. You should seek out internships, or frankly, just come visit for a day. See that people are there doing the things that you want to be doing. So the unequal pay is what I do, right? I'm a defense labor and employment lawyer. So that means when you have questions about why did a man get paid this and a woman get paid that, they come to me. And a lot of times the answer is not that there was a specific intent to discriminate against the man or the woman, but there are objective reasons why someone's getting paid differently. And some of those objective reasons can be valid. One person has 10 years of seniority or skill set on someone else. Perhaps they have different jobs, right? Or it can come down to something as little as they didn't ask for as much. Never be afraid to ask, right? Only the unasked questions don't get answered. The squeaky wheels get heard. It doesn't necessarily mean that every time you're going to get what you want. That's not the point of asking. The point of asking is so you didn't let an opportunity slide by. Be your own champion as well. Ask the tough questions about pay parity. Am I getting paid what my male colleagues are getting paid? Can you give me certain demographic information? I don't need you to attach the names to everybody who's in my same position, but what on average is everybody getting paid? And if you are getting paid less, in my view, the answer isn't to scream and cry and have a fit about it. It's to ask why. Why is it that I'm getting paid less? What are those objective reasons? If they are valid, then you know what? Work towards the things that you can do to increase your own pay. If they're not valid, then you need to be having discussions with the appropriate people at the company to say, look, I deserve the increase because I am doing the same objective criteria that somebody else is doing. I thought in high school that I was going to have a certain path. I thought I was going to go to a certain school. I was going to graduate from that school and I was going to do X, Y, and Z. And I am so far afield from that destination. And instead of feeling like, well, I'm not succeeding because I'm not on the path I predetermined at 17 years old, I let it go. And I found the path that, took me the way it needed to go. For my version of success, for what makes me, want to get up in the morning and do what I do.
At the University of Cincinnati, Dr. Minnie Gaskins is the Assistant Dean in the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. She is the only African-American woman on the faculty in her department. She is determined to promote quick change and offer a welcoming environment for minority students who want to be involved in the fields of STEM. For her, being a minority can be frustrating, yet empowering at the same time.
So it's interesting being the only Black woman here. I will say that sometimes it's isolating because I feel like I'm the only one that understands certain perspectives, but sometimes it's empowering because there are students that look like me in the college and I want them to know that you can do this too. So it feels great to be able to give and empower a group of women, but it feels yucky sometimes to always be the only one. I call it the lonely only in the room all the time. I'm actually shocked more women don't go through engineering. It actually should be the reverse. I might have an extreme bias, but I find women to be problem solvers, and at the end of the day, that's all engineers do. So when you think about women who choose to be stay-at-home moms, all they do is solve problems all day, right? They're making lives easier, the logistics they've got. That's what engineers do. So it blows my mind that more women are in engineering because we actually do it naturally, like it's our thing. I think that going into engineering, it is intimidating in general because you know that it's going to be rough, right? So it's one of the hardest majors to get into on any college campus. And so there's always a little doubt, like, am I supposed to do this? But then when you see that there aren't other people that look like you, then you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? I knew who I was and what I was capable of. So I was like, oh, I got this. Honestly, the biggest barrier is a bias that people hold about what women can do. And it's important for women to not back down. I think the other side of it is it's important for men to stop the bias. Like, stop thinking that women aren't capable. We are, and we always have been. I think that when we can start recognizing people for their talents and their contributions, we'll be in a better place. But we aren't necessarily there yet. I do notice that I have women that believe men and the things that they think. You can be girly and be in STEM. You don't have to be girly and you can be in STEM. You can be yourself and do this work. The big thing is there a problem that you want to solve? Because that's what we do. You be the only reason why you don't. And what I mean by that is self-select out because you don't like it. Don't self-select out because you are a woman and you heard that you can't make it, or it's isolating. The only way we can change that is if we stay and we persist and we make our presence known. So if you're in the workforce and there's a company and women are not feeling included or having bad experiences, hold the people accountable. I think that a lot of the times we get scared, well, they didn't mean it, or they're a good person, so they didn't mean to be whatever it is that they said or did. Stop, hold them accountable. That doesn't mean you have to fire them, but it does mean that you have an expectation that everyone is treated equitably and fairly, and all of those things that are said and done do not belong. Don't let bad behavior persist. All that does is send a message that it's okay because you're a nice person. We're all nice people. No one wakes up and says, I'm going to be mean today. We're allowing men to control women in unfair and unequitable ways without addressing their bad behavior. When are we going to have that conversation about what I look like is none of your business and you should leave me alone? And I don't know how we fix it without men being allies and calling out their friends. Men have to hold each other accountable. The thing that I remember, and I don't know who told me this, but I will tell everyone this: you are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not the sum of your mistakes. Mistakes happen, bad things happen, setbacks happen, but you are still an excellent, living, breathing, beautiful person. You're not the sum of your mistakes.
The women we featured today made sure to reinforce the fact that they don't want to be recognized just because they're women. They want to ascend in their specific careers because they are the person for the job, not because they check off a box.
Quotas have a negative connotation in general because it makes people feel undervalued for their contributions. A lot of the times, the people that might be put in those positions. So I'm on a board and then I'm a double count, right? So they're like, oh, she's black and a woman. Yes, we've got, we're hitting the quota. It makes you feel yucky, right? We never think about how that person in that position feels and how that can be really detrimental to their mental health and their psyche, because sometimes they're going to be in the room, they're like, oh, they only put me here because I'm a woman, right?
The hardest part sometimes is getting in front of the people to be able to showcase who you are. You all can read about me, or you can read it, but until you meet me, you really don't know me. And I think that when you have an opportunity to go to be somewhere face to face, it really changed the perspective of who you are, not just who your name is, what your name is on paper.
If I want somebody in a leadership role, do I automatically think that it should be a woman? I want a woman that has the qualities, characteristics that are necessary.
I think that any company, any association should have goals, okay? They should be challenging themselves to be better, regardless, whether it's U.S. military or whether it's GE or whether it's nonprofit, and stretch yourself for that equality and that balance.
I don't love the idea of quotas, in part because it's almost offensive to me to think that the only reason I'm on this board, the only reason I got my job is not because I earned it, not because I deserve to be here, but because of my gender.
I don't want to get a job just because I'm a woman. I want to get a job because I'm the person for the job.
A longtime mayor, a combat pilot, a prominent attorney, an award-winning anchorwoman, a college dean. These women are just a small representation of the women making history during the month dedicated to women's history. It was an honor getting to speak to these women and hear their stories that inspire us all. I want to personally thank Dr. Minnie Gaskins, Cherie Palello, Amy Brewer, Nikki Foster, Megan Glowacki, and Michelle Clark-Hurd for shaping the new generation of young women everywhere. I'm Kylie Gigliotti.
Kylie, thank you for bringing us these powerful stories of such incredible women. To all of our viewers, we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast, and to all the staff of MHS, thank you for allowing us to use this platform to deliver such impactful stories. This broadcast required an incredible team effort, so from everyone in front of and behind the camera, I'm Amelia Guerin, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Kara from the Hopes Club. If you followed along this week with our announcements and activities, you may have noticed that this week is Hope Week, which we've hosted in order to bring awareness to suicide prevention and support mental health. We hope you've been able to participate this week and learn more about how you can contribute to ending the stigma surrounding mental health, as well as the importance of taking care of your own. As we get ready to head into spring break tomorrow, take a second to take a deep breath. You made it. Focus on yourself over spring break and do what makes you happy by practicing self-care. Join our Zoom call tonight at 4 p.m. for some mental health trivia. The link for this can be found on Schoology as well as our Instagram and Twitter. Have a great spring break.